Hey guys, this is Stacy over at Easy Acupuncture School, just doing part three of most common patient presentations in clinic. So we're talking about the things that you're going to see in clinic. It's not the things that you're going to see on your board exams, but it's the things that you're going to see in real life. So I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. I wrote myself a note about some things. I apologize. My last video, I started to get a little brain lag because it was the end of the day. Like today, I just finished up with my clinic, but I hadn't eaten. So I started to get a little forgetful, for lack of better term. So, and of course, I wrote something down, but I didn't bring it with me. So, anyway, I'm going to try to remember all the things that I wanted to do in housekeeping before we started. The first thing is I mentioned Jeffrey Ewen with the Heart One. Jeffrey Ewen is awesome. He's a really smart, brilliant guy, and I have done many of his classes and studied many of his lectures, and just a brilliant guy. So didn't like Heart One, but that doesn't mean I don't like any of his other stuff. And he's a really smart fellow. So check him out. The other thing I was going to talk about briefly is the thing we were talking about ice yesterday. I don't want anybody to walk away thinking that you going to a hotel and trying to eat their ice sculpture or try to eat your body weight in ice cream is good. No, cold foods in general are difficult for our bodies, and they're more difficult for people that have digestive issues. If you already have a predilection for issues with digestion, then cold foods are just going to add to that. If you're a healthy, strapping 21-year-old person or teenager, then cold foods might not have as much of an effect on you unless you have a history of digestive issues. Then they might be a little tough. So, not saying that you can eat all the cold food in the world, but if you don't have digestive issues, it might not be as hard on you as if you did have digestive issues or other health issues. Um, the eyes, I mentioned yesterday, night blindness and liver blood deficiency. The liver blood nourishes the eyes. So that's one of the reasons why night vision or issues with night vision can be a symptom of liver blood deficiency. The other thing that I was going to talk about, the kidneys a little bit with that palpitations yesterday. We talked about that. And just to make it clear, if you have a patient that comes in with palpitations, then, check out the heart and the other facets of the heart, the pericardium, because wouldn't automatically think of, oh, it's a kidney issue if they have heart palpitations. Heart palpitations are generally a big sign for the heart, not the kidneys. But sometimes our kidneys, like we were talking about yesterday, the kidneys are our 401k, energetic 401k. And then when we are strapped for cash, so to speak, if our resources have been drained, then other other sources will try to pick up the slack. Meaning, it's like if you're really sick, then sometimes you might get those heart palpitations because your body is using all the energy that it can to try to deal with that sickness. So you're a little short in your 401k. So it starts to drain things from the heart or other organs so they stop functioning as optimally. And that's what they're talking about. I mean, in books, you're not going to see it saying that it's draining energy away from the heart, but it's basically the kidneys, when they are full with energy in their 401ks, so to speak, they can spread energy around and help support things that aren't working as well. But then when the 401k starts to drain out, it's not able to support everything as well as it used to. So things might pop up, or when people are getting a little peaked because of that, the vitality energy of the kidneys is not there, then they can start getting some of those palpitations. I also think about if you have empty heat symptoms, um, the heat will start to agitate the heart and cause some palpitations too. So but like I said, the first place to look if you have a patient that comes in with palpitations is not the kidneys. I would look at the heart first. The last thing I was going to say, and usually I say this at the very beginning of this lecture, is I understand that the stuff in this lecture is the very basic stuff. And well, like I was saying in the very beginning, sometimes this stuff might be very basic, but it's never going to do you wrong. You will do it, and it'll work. It'll work. And one thing to never forget as a student, because it's easy to do this, especially when you don't have a lot of experience, is when because I was in the same boat as you, when I was a young acupuncture practitioner, man, oh man, and I'm still a little bit of a sucker for this, but you give me something or I see a class that's advertised about some kind of exotic form of acupuncture that's supposed to do all this miracle stuff and is classically based. It's like when I was a young student, I wanted all of that stuff that was robbed from me, from that darn Mao and all that TCM and them changing everything around and killing out all the, Taoist influences of acupuncture and robbing me of all the magic. That was kind of what I thought as a student. It's like, I want the classical stuff. I don't want this TCM poo poo. And as I get older, and not because I'm older, it's just like I've practiced longer. I practiced for 13 years. My treatments aren't exotic anymore. I do really basic, very simple stuff. I do classical five. I don't want to say five element because it's not Worsley based, J.R. Worsley based five element acupuncture, but I do very simple, just using the elemental points, using the Ling Shu, using things like that. I mean, but my gone are the days where Stacy thought that he was going to levitate in the room and then hang upside down from the ceiling and use all these curious points that no one had ever heard of. Gone are the days where the exotic stuff really, I mean, sure, it's appealing because I will confess that I've taken some pretty interesting classes recently, but I always go back to the basics. And when I first got out of school, I took a lot of these classes in Chinese hospital medicine. And one of the things that they talked about is when you graduate over in China, it's not like you're abandoned. You usually are apprentice in the hospital under what's called a long beard, a person that's been around for a while. And one of the things that the long beards, you can't see my hand go all the way down, but the long beards would say is in order to master Chinese medicine, you need to master the basics. And when I first got out of school, I was like, heck with the basics. I don't want any more of the spleen chi deficiency, you know, liver chi stagnation. I'm sick of studying that. I've studied it for 4 years and I've studied it for exams, for state board exams. I don't want it anymore. I want the cool, exotic stuff. I want to be raising the dead with my acupuncture, and now the basics, the basics are like that partner that always do you right. The basics understands that you go off and cheat on them with taking a new class on the hot frying pan flying needle acupuncture technique that's supposed to be curing the world, and the basics will always take you back. When once you figure out that the hot frying pan technique doesn't work, stomach 36 will still call your name, come back to me, and it'll welcome you with open arms. Some of the basic stuff will welcome you and say, you've come back to me. and it works well. It works well. And I've studied a lot of stuff. I mean, not, I mean, I'm making fun of some of the crazy stuff that I've studied, but I've studied some really advanced stuff. And, I'll be enamored with it for a while, but I always go back to the tried and true basics. I know I'm kind of boring about that, but it works. It works for a lot of people. Um, and it just works. It just works. Down the road, I'll probably do a class on how I treat. It's like I said, it's five element, but not J.R. Worsley five element. But that doesn't matter. That's not what we're here to talk about today. So let's get on let's get on our presentation. Let's get back to that and let's rock this out and finish this up. So I'm going to start this up. Let's see here. Slide. Why is my face not appearing? Well, you guys might not. I don't know why that's not appearing. Zoom. Oh, I know why. I know why. Let's do this. Oop. Sorry, guys. Um, uh, melting. Oh well. We might not be able to make it very small, so we can have a party up in here. If you can't see my face, it's no party. So okay, let's. Well, I guess that's not going to happen today. Sorry, guys. So anyway, we're going to start from current slide. I don't know why my face hasn't popped up, but it's okay. It's okay. Malnourishment of the sinews. So what is this basically? Sometimes you'll see this. Oh, wait a minute. That's all right. There we go. It's going the wrong way. Malnourishment, you don't see it only in women of a certain age. You see this in everybody. Malnourishment of the sinews is common symptoms are worse pain after inactivity or arising in the morning, relief, but they feel better after they move around a little bit. Basically, they get the fluids moving, and so they get some relief. Generalized qi and blood deficiency signs can also be part of this because think the chi leads the blood, right? So that's why some generalized chi symptoms could be happening because when the chi is not strong, it can't move the blood as well as it should. And also blood deficiency signs. We've talked about blood deficiency signs before, earlier. A lot of times you can see, well, a lot of times or often, it's not with every athlete, but a lot of times some athletes, you'll get this with athletes because the more you use your muscles, it's the blood becomes kind of like the fluid that like gasoline for our engine in a way. It's like we can burn through some blood when we are very athletic. And I'm talking about athletes. I'm not talking about, me. Me working out. But sometimes you'll have athletes, female athletes, like especially when they're teenagers or in their young 20s, and if they are like runners or they'll become amenorrheic because they are kind of burning their blood up through their athletics. And so when you start burning your blood up, so to speak, or using your blood a little bit too much, then sometimes you can get this malnourishment of sinews. Basically, you can start becoming blood deficient. And the blood is what nurtures and soothes the muscles. It makes them supple. So when we don't have enough blood in the muscles, then you'll start to get some of this malnourishment of the sinews. And the way that you treat this is bladder 17. Remember, we were talking about the diaphragm last lecture. Bladder 18 is the back shoe of the liver. Bladder 20, back shoe of the spleen. Spleen 6, stomach 36. Remember, we talked about how those were a good combination for blood deficiency. Then local points. If they have any areas that have been injured and the blood is stagnant because of this malnourishment, this lack of blood, the blood becomes stagnant because if we don't have enough blood, sometimes it will stagnate because it's not enough to move around. So it gets stuck in one place. So using some local points or cupping to free that up. For if the person has some cold or yang deficiency, you can think of also doing CV12, CV6, CV4, or stomach 36. Those help all, like the CV12 and CV4 and stomach 36 can help build blood. You can even moxa CV8 because that all of that's going to heat up the abdominal area to help with the digestion, which helps in turn the spleen, which helps in turn builds blood. So that's what we have there for that depressive heat. I'm going to stop there for a second, guys, because I really want to try to get the picture to show up in the bottom of the screen. I don't know why it's not doing that. So anyway, I'm going to stop and try to fix that, and then we're going to get back to this, okay?